So in this video, I thought I'd take a break from clocks and do a fun part, making this wax seal stamp. It had some fun lathe work, I thought, and I'll take you through it. So the first thing I needed to do was, put my custom engraving, what I wanted to put on the end of it. And the way I did that was in Fusion 360, just, drawing it on the end of a part and using the engrave command. Very simple. This is sped up a little bit, but it's really a quick operation. And this is a 1-inch brass dowel that I'm cutting into right now. But it really does a nice job. You can put any design you want in there. Then you come over and do a lot of lathe work. You can see this part here. This is a part that came from a kit that I bought off of Amazon, a wax seal stamp kit. There's a ton of them on there. And I'm just copying that profile. And that's what makes it kind of fun. There's no real precision work. You just want to get a nice looking profile. So it's a nice break from the kind of work I've been doing. You can see me there setting the Z-axis and coming in and putting, what I'm working on now is putting the first shoulder. But first just registering where that dowel is. You'll see me also setting in this depth. You just go in, you kiss that part. I'm using a cutoff tool here. The cutoff tool I have here has got a chip in it, so you'll see it when I go back and forth, kind of throwing chips either way, which it shouldn't do, but that's because I've got an old cutter I didn't feel like changing out yet, because it's really not critical work. You can see you can really, they're nice for moving material, and you get a nice sharp edge, so I end up using these cutoff tools a lot. Just clean those edges off a little bit. And here you can see me just taking that part and kind of as I go along, just pulling dimensions off it of what I need to cut next. There's a deep shoulder in there I'm measuring. If you remove that material first. You'll see there's a chamfer I need to cut, so that was why I wanted to get that done first. And just taking off a bunch of material on the back end of this part. You can see that material coming off. You can see I'm just checking to make sure that I've got my dimensions look like reality. Because I'm doing this kind of off the cuff, which I don't typically work. The right way would be to put it on a drawing and make sure you got the dimensions right, but it's just not critical at all, so didn't want to take the time. So here you see I need to put a chamfer in. So here I need to put a different tool on. These are all carbide inserts I like to use. And with the brass, it's like cutting butter. Here you see me come in using the cross slide to put that chamfer in. That's why I need to remove that material beforehand, because as you push into that part, you don't want to be pushing into material. You can do it a little bit, but you don't want to make a deep cut that way. I don't love using the cross slide because mine's got a little bit of a chatter, so you can see me in the final cuts really holding it tight to get a smooth finish. Using some small files to blend in that chamfer to the slot that I put in. Just clean that thing up. So here I'll go get another Z, because I've got the cutoff tool back in. This is just parting this part off. So that I've got the profile in. All I need to do is remove this this piece now. So it's pretty simple, as you can see. Nice little lathe project. And what we have to do now, though, is I got to put a tapped hole in the end of it. So you could drill this, but since I have a CNC, it's just easy. So I'm coming here with an 8-inch Ed mill and putting a pocket in with the right dimension. It's a metric tap, so I make sure I got the right hole in there, and you don't want to go too deep. You can see me using the cutting fluid. Once you turn that off, you can see those chips build up pretty quick. So you just turn this thing on and let it run. It's just that simple. You can see it's fixtured with a V-block, 2 parallels. Pretty easy piece to hold in place also, so it makes it nice. It's not going to go anywhere. Drill be a hell of a lot faster, but just push a button so it's easy. Now what I do is I put a dowel on that, you know, the exact size of that hole, and this allows me to put it into that collet and make sure that thing's square to the chuck. It's a nice trick that I use quite often. So now I'll come put a lead in on that hole for the tap and also for the wooden handle to get screwed in at the end. Just putting light pressure to cut that. So what I do next to tap this, which makes it nice, is these tap guides. Anyone that has a lathe, highly recommend getting one of these. It just makes it so easy to make sure that tap's coming in straight and concentric. You know, on this, you don't want that handle. On a short tap like this, it'd be easy to get that thing going crooked if you ever tried to do this by hand. And this allows you to do kind of everything in one setup. And you know that that hole's going to be just right on. And then I clean it up with paper. I did a lot of polishing that I didn't want to show on this. It's just too time consuming. But you're going to see I'm going to come over now and do some gold plating. So it has to be polished out. So it's clean this up a bit. But then I'll go polish it and make sure it's extremely clean. Because the gold plate shows everything. So here I'm getting ready for gold plate. You don't have to do this, but you know, most of these are actually gold plated. And since I have the materials, I like doing this process. It's really simple. I was always afraid to do it at first, but now that I've gotten used to it, there's really not much to it. First thing you do is you put in an Electro Cleaner. This changes the surface of the brass and allows the water, it just wets off. If it doesn't wet off, you're not going to get a proper plate. Then I go into a nickel solution. And this is sped up a bit on the film, but I'm only in here for about 30 seconds, if that, to get a very thin nickel layer on there. And that is like a barrier layer between the brass and the gold, so the brass won't leach through over time. And the gold, put it in here, you can see me adjusting the voltage. It's different for each bath. Each bath has its own temperature. The gold stays in a little bit longer, but you can see that's all there is. And that's DI water that I'm rinsing all these things in. You have to be careful, but it's a very simple thing to do. And you see there it is. You got a gold-plated part, custom initials, ready to be mounted. And this is what it looks at the end. This is a kit I bought off of Amazon. Again, there's a ton of them out there. But that to the right is the part that came with it, and here's the one I made. So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe, and we'll get back to clock soon.